serve to begin this fourth round match at Margaret Court Arena. Yeah, fast start against a younger opponent, an underdog, a guy new to this level at a major would be important for Blake. Cilic really seized the moment. It was a Rod Laver Arena match against Gonzalez, the finalist from a year ago. And he was able to outplay the veteran, especially in the last couple of sets.
Gonzalez actually said after that match he'd been struggling with his shoulder, and he blamed the balls, believe it or not. He said the balls are really heavy here, and he felt like it just wore him down in the first two matches, and come the fourth set he had nothing left in his shoulder and got the trainer out to get some treatment, but he really faded away in that match.
Come on, Gonzalez. I mean, you talk about tennis balls being heavy. You're talking about a gram. I mean, it's a tiny amount of weight. I know the players can tell a difference, but that being the cause of an injury, he hadn't played that much tennis, really. I mean, we're talking about 3 matches.
I agree totally, Chris.
It sounds like excuse making.
Also amazing to see these guys that are surprise finalists that get to the Australian Open. They come back the next year and they have a lot of points to defend, and it's not easy, the pressure that's on them. We saw Baghdadis last year succumb a lot to the pressure of defending a final.
Tough ground strokes from Cilic. We're talking about the backhand set that point up.
You just cannot leave the ball up high on his forehand. Every time he gets a chance to really flatten out the forehand, he takes it. He doesn't hesitate. And that was a big shot against Gonzalez. That's going to be a really important shot today for James, is to use his forehand effectively and not always hit to the open court. He's playing against a guy who's 6'5". You've got to go behind the guy, make him stop and push back to the other court.
Game point. Cilic 6'5" with size 16 feet, so he was pretty well for a guy his size, but that will come into play if you got those big boats trying to change direction quickly. A little bit of a struggle in the first game, but Blake able to hold. Luke Jensen joins us courtside. Luke?
Well, I think the first thing, Chris, you have to know is it's pretty windy still down here. James Blake just served right into the wind, and there is a huge Croatian fan base right in this bowl. Remember that the tickets are just basically a grounds pass, and if he doesn't stay on this youngster, it's going to get loud.
Seen that a lot. The Croats with the red and white checkered flag, and Cilic is really the guy carrying that flag. Ljubicic, early exit from this tournament. You got to believe, Darren, that his days are numbered as a real, top contender. And Ancic injured, not here.
I believe so. Yeah, Ljubicic is certainly on the downward spiral at the moment.
First service game for the 19-year-old.
Ljubicic is an interesting one because we had this conversation last year, and there are the matchups there, but he made a racket change last year, which I thought was really surprising. He just consolidated himself in the top 10 for 2 years in a row and changed frames. And I was reasonably critical of that last year because, I just think you've worked so hard at it was about 26, 27 when he got himself into the top 10. Why change anything? And he said that he'd spent his whole career not having one endorsement, and all of a sudden he's in the top 10 and nobody knows him, and the racket manufacturer that endorsed him was going to put a lot behind him for life after tennis. So he was willing to give up a few possible matches to set himself up for life after tennis, and you can go either way on that, but for me, we're tennis players and it's all about winning tennis matches. You know, the equipment that tennis players use is so personal. Every time you make a slight change to the length of the racket or the string or the grip, the flexibility of the frame, it changes your game enormously.
The guys are always kind of messing with the strings. You know, use one kind of string in the main strings, another kind for the cross strings, and they'll experiment with tension. But if it's a totally different kind of racket frame, I see your point. Whatever the reason, Ljubicic is.
And you'd be really surprised about how many times the players do trial different things, but they end up going back to the thing they know. Could probably go through the top 10 at the moment and could work it out. There's a fair chance most of the players in the top 10 are using the same frame, the same string, same weight of the racket, same grip size as they were 3 years ago.
At stake, a spot in the quarterfinals, and Blake is the last American trying not to make this just the third time in the last 20 years that an American man does not reach the final 8 here. It happened a couple of years ago. Roddick was beaten by Baghdadis. 2002, Sampras lost to Safin. In those years, there was just one American to reach the 4th round, as is the case this year.
That you were talking about. It's a beautiful shot. He's not trying to overpower his opponent. He's using it to bring the forehand. He knows if he stretches James that wide on the forehand, cross-courts the shot, Cilic is going to make the next shot the forehand.
Early break point for Cilic. Ivo Karlovic, the other Croat, of course, is knocked around the top 50. He was dismissed pretty early here, usually dominating him. James using that wide serve to get out of trouble. Cilic takes some time to wind up those big swings, but if you leave it hanging to the midcourt, he's dangerous.
This is the same thing that Gonzalez tried to do against Cilic. He hit the slice backhand a lot against him, trying to make the ball stay low so the 6-foot frame, 6'5" frame would have trouble, but Cilic had no trouble against Gonzalez with that. See there, James going behind him twice and got the big man off balance.
There's a lot that's going on with that forehand swing, right? I mean, you have to be well balanced to make that work with any kind of consistency.
James having a look to the umpire there on Margaret Court Arena. There is no shot spot, no ability to challenge the call.
That's another major difference, having your match assigned out there as opposed to one of the two stadiums. Wind has a bigger impact and the computer has no impact.
And she loses the set. It's a set apiece.
That's amazing.
Are you kidding me?
Cliff. Why would I like to see a player collapse like that?
No, that's the kind of story you like.
Doesn't that normally happen to Hunchakova?
Yeah, it's happened to Petrova out here already. It's been that kind of a day where you've seen matches dramatically turn around, and we've seen some mental fragility with a spot at the quarterfinals. It's at a slam at stake, a little bit understandable.
Between the ears, Chris, between the ears.
So we'll get to that third set chapter and keep you posted on Kirilenko Hantukova for the right to face Radwanska, surprise quarterfinalist who took out Petrova in that collapse by the Russian. And Cilic under a bit of pressure here at love 30, a scratchy game so far for the Croat.
Very windy conditions down there. This is a big start for James. He's got to come out here today and own this court. He's going to make Cilic feel like he's a visitor. These windy conditions should really suit James Blake much more than Cilic.
I agree with you, Darren. You don't want to get lulled into the notion that now you can come from 2 sets down. You can compensate for a slow start, as Blake did in the previous round. Against a guy like this, you want to come out and just establish yourself and not give him belief.
You give him the respect that he had a good win in the previous round, but here we go again. You got to back it up. That's where James has to use his speed quickly, offensively. Every chance he gets, he's got to impose his game.
Just an update on the wind, guys. Cilic is serving with the wind.
Blake normally so aggressive on a second serve return. A very poor game for Cilic. Drop serve, almost donating the game to Blake. 3-1. See if the wind kind of gets in his head. If he believes it's a big factor, it becomes a bigger factor.
Yeah, it certainly does, and don't discount the pressure that he's got on him as well. This is a great opportunity after a big win over Gonzalez to play a guy like James to make a quarterfinal. You know, it's a real possibility for him in his mind that he can win this match. He's not playing one of the big three, Nadal, Djokovic or Federer. This is James Blake, and as good as James is, this is a good draw.
The winner of this match will get Federer, if Federer can beat Tomas Berdych today. That match will begin very soon on Rod Laver Arena, and of course we'll show you a good chunk of that as well. Blake just rolling along now as Cilic is struggling to get a ball on the court.
Yeah, you can see that the wind is really moving the ball around, jamming Cilic on that particular shot, and that's what it does. It just gets it out of the strike zone. That's where you need quick feet to get yourself in position. Big boy, big feet, you just don't move as quickly.
Size 16, it's hard to have quick feet, huh? Yeah, smart play by Blake, playing good defense, and that time the slice did cause problems for Cilic. He didn't look too comfortable out there yet, does he?
No.
Love hole for James Blake, and a 4-1 lead in the opening set. Cool Monday afternoon in Melbourne, almost 3 o'clock. At the end of the day, the quarterfinals will be set on the men's and women's side. And the last U.S. guy standing, James Blake, off to a quick start. Marin Cilic, seeded Croat, 19-year-old, struggling a bit with the game of Blake and the windy conditions. Moves forward there for the volley winner.
I really like that about his game. No hesitation in coming forward. Closes to the net really quickly.
You see a little bit of Ancic's game, and the guy who's a few years younger, same country.
Absolutely. he's got a great all-court game that I feel like he can play on any surface. And he may even have a slightly bigger upside than Ancic. His forehand looks to be a stronger side than Ancic. Similar backhand. Ancic was more of a accomplished serve and volley player, which is not something we see a lot from Cilic.
A few years ago, Cilic was the second-ranked junior in the world behind Donald Young, who was the ITF champion in 2005. Gave it a shot in the ATP, went back to the juniors, won Wimbledon last year, but obviously Cilic zooming up the ATP rankings much quicker than Donald Young. Donald flirting with the top 100. I believe he was just below the 100 mark coming into this tournament.
What was also interesting about Cilic earlier in the year was they gave him a wild card into Wimbledon, the All England club, even though Great Britain had to play Croatia in a relegation Davis Cup match in September. A little controversy there. Very.
Oh, fed that right back into the Blake backhand, but Blake nets it. Cilic holds 4-2. Our coverage continues, 3:30 a.m. Eastern time. Hope you've been enjoying the late night wee hour sessions in America. Djokovic and Hewitt. Your guy Leighton Hewitt, what do you make of his chances after that marathon finish at 4:30 in the morning, coming back as the underdog against Djokovic tonight, Darren?
Oh, definitely. He's going to start as underdog, no question about it. I like his chances, Chris. I think physically he's fine.
Not much of a volley there from Cilic. And Blake with plenty of speed to run that down.
Yeah, it's tough when James Blake gets that first passing shot below the height of the net. There's really nowhere to go because James is so fast to run down the next shot. What I do like about Cilic was the way he got down to that volley. I know the volley wasn't a great one, but for such a big guy to bend your knees and get down to make that volley, I think his technique looks very, very good.
There's the kind of 1-2 tennis. James would like to play some easy points set up by the big serve. 40 love. I'm asking you more as we progress this afternoon about that Djokovic-Hewitt match. We'll dissect that later on in the day. Now Blake just completely untroubled on serve so far in this match, even winning his second serve points. Untroubled, and Darren and I have, I think, both noticed that James has that look in the eye that you want to see early in a match. Kind of very narrow eyes, focused on the matter at hand. A different expression than he wore when he took the court against Grosjean in the early going 2 days ago. He kind of looked a little placid, like he'd been up all night watching Roddick's match, which he wasn't.
Couldn't agree more, Chris.
Needs to maintain the look, though, for a while.
If he keeps playing like this, maybe about an hour and a half.
That's a challenge.
Luke, do you get any sense for James's demeanor on court? It looks pretty good.
He's been so patient this entire tournament. I mean, waiting for his spots. I really think that Davis Cup win gave him a massive bounce going into this year. I mean, just talking to him and watching him go around the court, he doesn't get too down. Even in that Sebastian Grosjean match, he kept the course, didn't get too high, didn't get too low.
Yeah, he was helped out by an opponent, though, who was struggling. Grosjean got tight at times and then got exhausted in the fifth set. I think that you don't want to count on that from an opponent.
But in the past, James wouldn't even get that far. You know, a guy would get him down 2 sets to love, and James would go away.
See the weather there, Luke? A good thing you're not doing sidelines in Green Bay. It was a -4. Blake has faced 2 break points. It was early in the set, and since then, Cilic has had trouble winning a point in the Blake service game.
Second service game, 2 break points. It was a big game for James to get out of, and he's got all the momentum here in the opening set. Again, going behind Cilic. It's going to be a big play for James today.
James is serving into the wind right now. Having to drive those ground strokes, try to keep them deep.
Whatever direction the wind is blowing, this match in a good direction so far for James Blake. He could not have drawn up a more perfect first set. 25 minutes into this match, and 3 set points for the American. Cilic. Blake couldn't get the lob over him, but he gave the young guy trouble with that shot. Had a chance to pass, but Cilic was there and has saved 2 set points. Return and play, dealing with the. He's 28 years old. That was a first from 2 sets down to win in 5, and Blake having won the first set against Marin Cilic, Croatia, who's in the near court, serving at 2-all.
Oh.
Marin Cilic really struggling in the first set with the win. Bunch of errors. He got treated after the set. The trainer was out looking at those big size 16 feet.
You see the size of those things, those toes?
Huge.
They were huge.
Some kind of a blister problem, a little bit of a delay before the start of the second set. He's been able to hold serve so far, but still doesn't look all that comfortable out there.
No.
You both feel it's important for James to knuckle down, to not have one of those typical letdowns and let Cilic climb back in this match.
Well, Cilic has been playing a little better here in the second set, but James is really going hard at Cilic's forehand, and so far it's working well for James. Big swing and still having trouble with that breeze.
And the ace, 19-year-old, he holds for a 3-2 lead. Let's check with Cliff Drysdale. More interesting, Cliff. This is the break point a minute ago for James Blake receiving the serve of Marin Cilic. It's 4-all in the second set. Blake having won the first. Neither guy had a break point the entire set. Watch Blake skidding around, and then Cilic just duffs the overhead. It's a little breezy, but that's no excuse. It actually led to the break, and now Blake trying to close out this game for a 2-set lead. It's now 15-all, Darren.
Now, apart from that last service game, it's been a much higher standard of set, especially from Cilic. He's played some great tennis and really accelerating through the forehand now, and this has been a high standard second set.
Important for Blake to seize on the poor game from his opponent, though, in the previous service game. It's the forehand. Been kind of a cranky Blake in this set. He was unhappy about a line call. Remember, you can't use the challenge system. Margaret Court argued With Kader Nooney, the chair for a while, called his supervisor out.
A smart approach shot from Blake. Didn't try to push that too hard. Got some good depth on that ball. He's playing against the breeze and closed in nice and tight. That's been a big play from James the whole match. Every time he gets a chance to go behind Cilic, he's hitting that forehand to that corner and executing beautifully.
The first set was almost handed to Blake by Cilic's mistakes. James has had to raise his level in the second set, and he has, especially in the last couple of games. By Cilic. Cilic, I should say, he comes in with the deep approach.
Very comfortable around the net, Chris. He continues to move in on the right shot and bends his knees well on the backhand, loads it up, keeps that racket head above his wrist and really punches the backhand volley.
Big pointed deuce. Blake mistiming the backhand after Cilic shot caught the tape. The young guy a chance to get back on serve.
It's the first break point opportunity in this set for Cilic. Oh, you saw the breeze just take that away from Cilic's strike zone, reaching for that forehand, and that caused the miss hit. Sensational coverage from James Blake. Wonderful coverage of the line.
Second chance at a set point. Oh, the big return from the young guy. Blake coming in. Surprise approach.
And not a bad play there on set point. That was a good first serve, but it was right in the slot for Cilic.
Cilic not wanting to give up this set without a real struggle. He knows what's at stake here. He's never won a 5-set match.
That breeze is really breaking the ball to our left. Nice slider down the middle here would be a nice serve for James.
He goes out wide. Cilic cannot handle it. And American James Blake up 2 sets to love. Now, well, thank you, Dick. Darren Cahill alongside. James Blake has lost only 2 points on his first serve of his entire set there, and serving for a spot in the quarterfinals, and comes up with that big boomer to get to 30-15, 2 points away.
Chris, no problem on serve at all in this third set. 4 points in total on serve, so chance here for James to close it out. He has just been really impressive today. He's handled the windy conditions extremely well. It's accelerated on every ground stroke, the forehand, backhand. We've seen a bit of lightning fast speed from James. Some volleys around the net. It's been a really complete performance.
Just got to finish it. That's a help. Cilic, that's the one thing about being 19 and talented, Darren. One day you can go out and and blast Gonzalez off the court. The next day against a similar quality player in Blake, you can look your age and show your inexperience, and Blake a chance to close it out. James Blake through to the final 8. He's had 3 straight set matches here, sandwiched around that 5-set escape against Grosjean.
Oh, Chris, he's had the fire in the belly from the first point today, and we said in the Grosjean match that couldn't quite see whether or not James was really into it. You know, he wanted to win, but that fire in the eye and that real intensity, he had that on the court today, and that was a really, really good performance by James to move into the quarterfinals, and he seems to be growing in confidence. I'm sure the Davis Cup performance has been great for him. He got the monkey off the back, winning a 5-set match at the US Open, won another 5-setter here at the Australian Open, and he's going from strength to strength.
And he survives in the breezy conditions at Margaret Court. All of his matches from here on out, beginning with a quarterfinal, will be inside Rod Laver Arena. He awaits the winner of Federer-Bridge, with Federer up 2-0. We'll have a visit with James Blake into the final 8 of the Australian Open when we continue live from Melbourne.
It's not even nighttime.
Luke, do you hear us?
Slacking off.
Hey, Chris, one of the things, James, you said before you went into this tournament that this was a little different. You know, it basically went through Roger Federer. Well, you got him. You know, he's still playing right now. You're 0-7 lifetime. What is it going to take?
Changing that 0 to a 1. That's what it's going to take, and that's not easy to do. There's a lot of guys out here that are 0-something against Roger. He's just right now the best player in the world, and but I've said it a million times before that anyone can beat anyone on a given day, and I think Tipsarevic proved that, and we all have to just believe that he's human just like the rest of us, and he can have an off day, and for me I can have one of my best days, and if I'm playing my best tennis, then it's a great feeling to go up and play your best tennis and see where you match up against the best in the world.
Did Tipsarevic give you some type of formula or a game plan?
I didn't get to watch too much of it. I was actually playing most of the time during it, but I know how Tipsarevic plays. He plays pretty flat, going through the court and attacking. So, and he's also incredibly fast. So hopefully I can use those skills that I have effectively against Roger. But like I say, every day is a new day. So we'll see which Roger comes out.
Now let's change sports. You know who won the Packers-Giants game?
I was very happy the match before me went 3 sets, so I could watch the end of that game and watch the overtime and watch Tynes redeem himself and make that field goal. It was an unbelievable performance, and I couldn't be happier that my Giants are in the Super Bowl.
And prediction on that game?
Man, it's going to be great when they break up that perfect season. Maybe I can break up Rogers' run here at Australia, and they can break up the Patriots' perfect season.
Go Big Blue.
Exactly.
Back to you, Chris.